Hey guys, this is Press Any Button and we are back with one of my favorite series on the channel so far, and that is the action adventure series. So last time you'll remember we were able to get a punching animation sorted for our enemy, and with that animation they did a little bit of a lunge forward. Now we're going to see how can we actually, use that, utilize it. We need something to hit, right? So we're just going to make a basic punching bag with a health bar, and we're going to have them recoil and do a couple of other things that are going to be helpful for when we create our proper enemies. Let's get into it. So you're going to right click and you're going to create a 3D object, and mine is going to be a capsule. Now where is that capsule, I wonder? So we select that, hit F, and we should probably be in the scene view to see that. Okay, so I can take my capsule and I can move it around. I just use the little icons up here. And this thing's pretty huge, to be honest, compared to our character. Actually, I think that's pretty fair. Just gonna scale it down along the Z and the X axes. So about 0.75, just want it a little skinnier. 0.75, there we are. And I think the height is pretty good for what we need to do in this part. Here we see him standing side by side with our character. Now what are we going to do? Well, we're going to turn this thing into a punching bag. So one of the first things that we want to do, make sure that we've got a rigid body on this. So rigid body, there we are, and we can leave everything. And then we're going to freeze the rotation along the X, Z and Y axes, because we don't want this falling over or moving when we don't want it to move. And then I'm going to go to add component, new script, and you're going to call your script enemy hurt. Once you've typed that in, just hit create and add, and that will make your script. I have my script right here, and we're just going to look at it in Visual Studio. Alright, so this is how our script is going to begin in this part. Right now we're just going to be focusing on getting our enemy to recoil. So when our hit collider, the collider that we have on our punch missile thingy, when that enters the collider of our enemy game object here, our enemy game object is going to move a little bit. Now how are we going to do that? Well, I've got a reference to the rigid body, so enemy rigid body, and in void start I've continued that reference, so enemy body equals get component rigid body. And then we've got a public float and we call it recoil. And then the magic really happens in void on trigger enter. So it's the same as what we've used before in different circumstances, but we say, alright, so on trigger enter, if the tag is hit, then we have our enemy body, so the rigid body for our enemy. Then we add force -1 along the Z axis times recoil. Now I've set recoil to something like 100 or something. It's a public float, so we can work on that in the inspector. So I'm going to save this script and I'm going to return to Unity. I'm going to set my recoil to 100 and let's see what happens. So when I punch, you can see that our enemy actually moves a little bit by -100 along the Z axis. Now I set it to minus for reasons that I'm going to explain in a second, but you can see that it's not really moving relative to where we're punching it, and that's not very realistic. That's kind of lame. That's how you get situations where, say, I punch like this, my enemy's gonna come towards me and we just have like a bunch of like vortex hits happening, and it just looks really weird, and we don't want that. So we're gonna have to make a couple more adjustments. Okay, now in Visual Studio we're going to change a couple of things. We want our enemy to move away from the damage. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to need a target. We want our enemy to move relative to where our player is at and where our player is hitting them from. So what our enemy will be doing for the majority of the playtime is looking at our player. They're going to be facing the direction of our player. So that means once we hit them, they're going to move away from our player because we have that minus factor on the z-axis in this vector 3 here. It's just going to always move away. Well, how do we use this public transform target? We simply add a little script in void update. And this is our script. In void update transform.lookAt. Now lookAt is a feature that we've used actually before, but we used it in a more complex way, and that was with our follow camera. Now our follow camera looks at the position of our player. It has a bit of a damping effect and all that, but we're just going to make things really simple this time. We want our enemy to look at our player. So where it says public transform.lookAt, in brackets you're going to put target, or whatever the name of that public transform for your player is going to be. You could put player, but we'll just put target for now, because hey, who knows, maybe our player has moves where he can switch the target and our enemies will attack each other. Who knows? We can we've got a lot of options for those, so we'll keep those doors open. Now without wasting your time, I'm going to tell you right now, even if our enemy is facing us and we apply this force, they're only going to move relative to the world. So what'll happen is we'll hit them, but they'll just move in that same direction that we saw them move before. How are we going to change this? Well, instead of using add force, we're going to use add relative force. So this is the force relative to the position and the rotation of our enemy character. I'm going to save this and then we can test it out. Before we jump into play, let's make sure that we have our character in that target slot there. I hit play and then attack, he moves away. I attack, he moves away. How about on this side? I attack, he moves away. I attack, and he moves away. Brill! So everything's working as we want it to. I attack the character and they move away. Let's give a better visual representation for where our enemy is facing by adding a little thing to them. So I'm going to make a cube. I just right clicked, went to 3D object and then went to cube. I'm going to scale it down. He says, there we go. And then I'm going to drag it over here. I don't really need to. I'm going to make it a child of our capsule. I'm going to reset the transforms. Scale it down again because I didn't think that one through. And then I'm going to use this arrow to bring this over here. Let's look from a top view. And there we go. So we can say that that is our enemy's face. So wherever this is, we'll know that our enemy is facing that way. So if I play again, you can see that our enemy is always facing our player. So I hit them and they go this way. They're still facing me. It's kind of creepy, to be honest. Hit him. Hit him. Yeah, we need to make some like cute looking enemies because that's kind of unnerving for some reason. Alright, we got that sorted, but it's no fun if we just have an enemy that just stays there forever. You know, invincible enemies, no consequences if we hit them. What kind of game is that? It's not a game at all, to be honest. So how are we going to add that feature into our game? Well, we're going to make a health bar and we're going to have some health scripts attached to our enemy character here. So let's just make a canvas to take a break from Visual Studio. Alright, so you're going to go into UI and then you're going to go into canvas, right? And then we're going to hit F. And just like always, our canvas should be absolutely huge. Where is it? So turn on the gizmos. There we go. We turn on gizmos and we can see it. So our canvas is absolutely huge. He's been hitting the gym while everyone's been in isolation. He has just been getting huge. How are we going to fix that? All right. Well, instead of using screen space overlay, we're just going to use world space. And that gives us the opportunity to scale them down there. Then we're going to right click on our canvas again, gonna go to slider, and here we have a slider that we can use for our health. I'm gonna get rid of that handle because I don't want to use it. I just want the health slider itself. Let's zoom in. Alright, so we can take a look at the fill area. It's white, that's pretty boring, so I'm gonna change the color to something else, he says. Alright, to pick your color, you'll just need to mess around with this little dot in the middle. I'm gonna make it a nice blue, it's my favorite color. There we go. That's a nice sky blue. Then I'm going to go back to my slider, color tint, we don't want any of that, so we're gonna set that to none. I'm gonna set it to its max value. You can see that it's not quite filled up the entire space. That's alright. That max value is gonna then become 10. I'm gonna slide that up again. Go to this rect tool, and we're just gonna drag this over so that our fill covers the entire background. The background we're just gonna leave the same. And now it's time to scale down our canvas. So as I said, it's huge. So we've scaled it down quite a bit. And you're thinking, why have we made our canvas so small? Is it just not the fact that our characters exist in a different plane of existence that we can't see them? No, because they're right here and they're tiny compared to this thing. So we're going to keep scaling it down. But that doesn't quite make the slider smaller. So how are we going to make the slider smaller? Well, to change the size of a slider, just gonna do that. So we've used the scale tool and we've just scaled it down by the values we want it to be at. So that looks pretty, I mean, we're in the right direction, we're heading in the right direction. I won't lie, it's not complete yet, but I'm just gonna scale down the canvas itself now. So we're just playing around, so just have a good play around with this. See what works best for you guys, because it's going to be different with your project, everything like that. And then we're going to make this canvas a child of our capsule, and we're going to reset the position. So position Y, position Z, all those positions, and we're going to drag it up over top of our enemy there. Okay, so I finished my edit for the health bar. Now it's really not going to do anything until we apply some script. So let's go back to our enemy hurt script and see what we need to add. So in our enemy hurt script, we are going to want to make some references to a script that we're going to make in a second. Now our first reference is enemy health. So that's going to make a reference to a script that we have in this project, and it's going to call it enemy health. And then we're going to have a public int, which is damage. That's the amount of damage that's going to be taken when our collider hit enters the collider of our enemy game object. In void start, we're just going to reinforce that reference that we've got there. So get component enemy health. So it has to be the same name as the script as you see it on the header here. So say if our script was enemy hurt, you would copy that, you would paste it into there. But instead, you're going to have an enemy health script. So you're going to copy this, you're going to paste it into there. And then finally, in void on trigger enter, we're going to have enemy health dot take damage. And we're not going to destroy our game object because it already destroys itself after a certain amount of time. But that is pretty much it for our enemy hurt script. So once you've got that, you just save that. It's a very simple script. Something that's a little bit more complicated is our enemy health script. To get our enemy health script working, we're going to go add component, and then we'll do new script again. And you can call your script enemy health. And we're going to type it like this. So lowercase at the start and then uppercase on the second word. Now it already exists for me because I'm cheating. But here we have our enemy health script. I'm just going to open that and we can take a look at what's happening with this script. So with our enemy health script, this is going to be the script that interacts with our slider component. So we're going to start off with using Unity engine.ui at the top here. Make sure that that's there, otherwise this is not going to work and it's not going to be there by default. So this is what I was talking about when I said that you'll copy and paste your little reference. So you copy this reference, go to your enemy hurt, and you put it right there where it says get component. You also put it at the top here where you want that reference initially at the start there. Okay, let's go back to this script, talk about it. So we've got a public int, that is our starting health. I've set that to 10. The max value on our slider is also 10. And another public int, which is current health. And we've got a public slider, and that is going to be our health slider. So we're just going to drag that slider that we made straight into that slot on the inspector. Void await current health equals starting health, that's fine. So our current health for our enemy is going to be 10 at the start of the game. So here we have public void take damage. To put it simply, this is where the script realizes, okay, we're using a slider, so the slider is going to equal the current health, and if the current health hits 0, we're going to hit a death state. Then we have void death, and that is just to destroy the game object. Right, let's save that script and then return to Unity. Right, so the starting health is going to be the current health, so we don't have to change that, because I think we might make our enemy immortal by accident by doing that. And then we're going to get our slider, which is under our capsule and under our canvas. We're just going to place that there, and then we're just going to play the game. We can see that our enemy game object has that slider over their head, and if we hit them, we take a little bit of damage. We take a little bit of damage, and we keep taking damage. I don't want to knock him over the edge because I want to show you that destruction. Alright, once he's taken enough damage, he gets destroyed. Brilliant, fantastic. However, there was a couple of things that were wrong there. One thing was that our UI component was rotating with our character, which meant that over their head, things just didn't quite look right. You know, we could see the side of the health bar, and it sort of took away some of the immersion of our game. So how are we going to fix that? Well, it's very simple. We're going to use that look at function one more time. So I'm going to go to my canvas this time, and then we're going to go to add component, and then make a new script one final time, and I called my script HP focus. You can see it in the side there, and I'm just going to add that HP focus script. Let's open that script and I'll talk you through it. Okay, very simple script. We have a target, void start, nothing's happening there, void update, transform.lookAtTarget, and that is it. And go back to Unity. What is our target? Well, we want our target to be our player camera. We want this component to look at our camera all the time so that we don't see the side of it or anything like that. Another thing you would have noticed is that the slider was actually going the wrong way around. Now an easy fix for this is just go right to left. So it's going to start right and then it's going to go left. And hopefully upon playing we should see that all of those issues are fixed. So I hit my character, I hit him again, run around. It's got that sort of Super Mario 64 effect to it. And that effect we call billboarding. Now, when I say Super Mario 64, if you look at the trees in that game, I grew up on Super Mario 64 DS, the trees actually follow the camera. And that was a lot of fun for me, being able to run around those trees and trying to figure out how they made it so that a 3D object would appear infinitely the same no matter what direction I was looking at it from. These are the things that entertained me as a child. But anyway, we have that billboarding effect, so our UI component doesn't take away from our immersion in the game. Now we can change this so that maybe we have a state where if our enemy is being attacked, that's the only time when the UI component is going to show up. we can not go for the health bars. I know a lot of games do that. I think DMC doesn't have health bars for a lot of its characters. You just kind of hack and slash until they're done. But other than that, guys, I'm actually surprised we've finished this part. Subscribe, guys, if you want to keep seeing this content popping up in your subscriptions box. Obviously, hit that notification bell. But until next time, guys, you know what it is. Press on and keep creating.